was shocked when she followed her mother. Her mother might not be a human, because every time she went out, she would bring a bear-shaped pearl, then she left alone without a sound. Until the next day she came back home with no energy. But the strange thing is that the pearl also flew away. After that, her mother also secretly cleaned up the blood-stained coat. And her mother's strange behaviors were hidden in the dark. She desperately wanted to figure out what kind of secret her mother was hiding. So the next day when her mother went out, she ran out of the door and decided to follow her to find out. But because she has asthma, she was forced to give up because of asthma. As time went by, the fog in Xiaomei's heart became thicker and thicker. On this day, she finally couldn't suppress the confusion in her heart. So when her mother was cleaning the bowl, she tried to ask her mother where she had gone with the pearl. Who knew that as soon as the words came out, her mother's face changed. Her hands were holding the teacup. That her mother was reluctant to tell the truth. Xiaomei continued to ask. Who knew that in the next second her mother dropped the teacup on the ground and warned Xiaomei not to talk too much. In the end, Xiaomei had no choice but to leave. However, the more her mother covered her eyes like this, the more curious Xiaomei was about the truth behind this. She was sure that her mother must have hidden some secret today. On this day, after her mother went out as usual, Xiaomei quickly ran to the top of the mountain. Unexpectedly, she found something strange. That is, her mother did not go to the town at all. Instead, she went to a forest in a hurry. It seems that her mother really has an unspeakable secret. However, at this time, her grandfather suddenly appeared behind her and warned Xiaomei not to be nosy and told her to stay at home before dark. Don't step out of the door. Inevitably, Xiaomei had no choice but to go home. What surprised her was that her mother had brought back her father, who had disappeared for half a year. It made her even more terrified. Her father was covered with wounds all over his body. His face was even worse. Xiaomei still wanted to go into the house to check on her father. Unexpectedly, her mother directly stopped her outside the door. However, at night, Xiaomei could no longer hide her doubts in her heart. She came to her parents' door by herself. But at this time, her mother happened to walk out. Xiaomei had to hide in the corner immediately, until her mother walked away completely. She was carefully turned back. Through the door, she wanted to observe the situation around the house. But suddenly, Xiaomei was scared to death. At this moment, her mother scared her to death. After this incident, Xiaomei dared not come to her parents' room to peek. However, at night, she heard the scream of a saint in her parents' room. She followed Xiaomei down the stairs. She saw that her parents' door was open. But when she walked into the house, she found her father sweating profusely. Xiaomei was concerned about her father. Fortunately, it was just a nightmare. At this moment, Xiaomei seemed to know something. At this moment, her mother was about to take the pearl out of the house. To verify her suspicion, she carried an oxygen bottle and followed the pearl. This time, she had to figure out what the pearl was selling in her mother's gourd. Very soon, her mother drove the car to a forest. But what surprised Xiaomei was that her mother actually brought her father here. Then the parents took the pearl and slowly walked into the deep forest. Their destination was the abandoned castle in the deep forest. Although this castle is a bit creepy, in order to figure out the truth behind this, Xiaomei had to follow them. Along the way, Xiaomei heard the sound of a bell. Very soon, Xiaomei came to an iron gate, but the scene in front of her made her stunned. She only saw her father taking off his gold band and kneeling on the ground. Her mother also put a huge chain on her neck. It seemed to be a strange ritual. As time went by, her mother quickly withdrew from the cage of her father and locked the iron gate tightly. Xiaomei, who took the opportunity, sneaked in through the gap in the iron gate. At this time, her mother also found Xiaomei. She shouted to let Xiaomei out quickly. But now Xiaomei didn't listen at all. She must figure out everything this time. At the same time, the whole castle wanted to withdraw the sound of the bell. But when she came to the front, she saw an extremely